Greetings of peace and welcome. My name is Anthea Alexander, and I am a coach and mentor. And I would love to welcome you to our open conversation. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Yogi Sanjiva, or lovingly known as Sanji, and also Rae Dalai. And we get together each Friday evening to have a discussion about topics that we see as important. Last week, we started talking about trauma, and it was such a big topic that we decided that we would continue on this week. And so this evening, we'll do a bit of a recap about what we talked about last week, giving a bit of framework around trauma. And also what we're wanting to focus on is recovery. So it is quite a big topic. And so basically, we understand that it could bring about some uncomfortable emotions or feelings in people. So if you do start to feel triggered by what we're talking about, please reach out to somebody that you trust and talk to them about it. It could be a friend, or it could be a health professional. You're also welcome to reach out to us if you're wanting to discuss pretty much anything. We're quite happy to discuss things as long as it's dealt with respect. And in terms of that, we're also open to suggestions about topics that you might like us to discuss. And you're also welcome to join us live. Everybody is welcome to join us or watch the video, whatever suits your lifestyle. So having said that, I will pass the microphone over to Rae and also Sanji to introduce themselves, and then we can make a start on our conversation for this evening. I say this evening because I'm based in Melbourne and it is about 8:15 in the evening on Friday night. So over to you, Rae.
My internet's playing up. I hope you can hear me. Oh, hi, my name's Rae. I am a ceramic artist from far north Queensland.
Rae is experiencing some technical issues, as happens from time to time. So please bear with us, but we very much want to include her because she has very, very valuable insights and experience. So basically, each Friday evening, I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. We get together at about 8 p.m. and have a open conversation about topics that we feel are of importance in this timing in history. And we are quite open for suggestions around topics. What we started talking about last week was trauma, and it was such a big topic that we decided that we would break it up into 2 or potentially 3 parts, a 3-part series. So we will do a recap tonight about what we talked about last week, and then what we're going to discuss. We're going to do a bit more of a deep dive into trauma and why it happens. And then next week, we can potentially look at trauma recovery and ways that we can recover from trauma. And basically, I would love to introduce my co-hosts for this evening. I've already introduced their names, but I would love for them to introduce themselves. So I'll pass it over to Rae to introduce herself, and then she can hand it over to Sanji before we start our conversation. So over to you, Rae.
Thank you, Anthea, and thank you
You're
for
welcome.
having me along again this evening. Okay, so I'm in far north Queensland, in a beautiful place on the Atherton Tablelands, where I work as a ceramic artist. So I'm a potter, so I make pottery, And because I've naturally gone into making pottery for the funeral industry, so urns and vases and angels and wreaths and flowers and things like that. Yeah, so I'm very comfortable with the circle of life, with birth, and a lot of stories that have happened to other people, and unfortunately ones that have happened to me as well, that have caused some trauma that I'm happy to contribute to this evening's chats. So that's me in a nutshell. So I'll hand you now over to Sanji.
Oh, thank you so much, Ray. Thank you, Anthea. It's very nice to be here, and it's a very friendly atmosphere, and everybody respects each other. So we join. Anthea is in another place, Melbourne. No, Ray is in Queensland. I am in Sri Lanka. So we all get together like this online, and we discuss. And today we have about the second episode of like about trauma, and we all come across people who have trauma, and in some degree or another each can have a bit of uh, in Sri Lanka also they have ancient people used to carry small like a it's like a small clock, and they used to put something they could chew in their mouth, no? Like a small pendant like thing, but it's bit bigger. Sometimes like they chew tobacco or something, no? So, oh, there's a mixture of that. So they say everybody's, how to say that, uh, amulet or something all has a little bit of lime, or like calcium carbonate, no? Everybody, because even if it's a little, uh, because they use it for this chewing, no? So everybody, even if they have wiped it clean, still there's a little bit of residue there. So anything, even some past memory or something like that, or something especially that happened in the childhood maybe. So a person, so people can have. So or they come across people, and especially we three, all of us are trying to help people who have this kind of difficulties. So we also can share. So I'll hand it over to Anthea. So we will have to see, and in our, because we have come across many people, and maybe in our lives also, not maybe in our lives also, we have faced these kind of situations. So we can just relate and think why trauma happens, no? Why trauma happens. So Anthea, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ray and Sanji, for introducing yourselves. So basically, a bit of a recap from last week, just to set the scene for the conversation. So trauma, it can be emotional, psychological response. So there's also physical trauma, but we're not going to be talking, well, physical trauma can then trigger psychological, emotional trauma, but we're focusing more on the emotional and mental, psychological, spiritual trauma. So it can be a response from a terrible event, something like an accident, a crime, or natural disaster. And responses like shock and denial are quite typical. So I guess what I see coming out of that basic definition is that it's something that's quite sudden. It's not really expected. With natural disasters, they can be predicted. So it can be something that has been predicted, but then perhaps when it actually hits, if it's a flood or a bushfire or a tsunami or whatever it is, cyclone, when it hits, it might be a bit different. We respond in a way that is unexpected. So that's where that unexpected component comes into it. There's 3 types of trauma. So we've got acute, which is generally from like a single incident of trauma. And then there's chronic, which is repeated or prolonged trauma. And then we've also got complex trauma, which is varied. It could be varied or multiple events. And it's often invasive and of an interpersonal nature. So in terms of trauma, basically, as Sanji mentioned, we all experience trauma to some extent. It affects everybody differently, and that was something that we touched upon last week and discussed. It's very individual. Like, for example, the three of us, we might all face a similar type of incident. Perhaps we were all in, I hope this doesn't happen, but perhaps we might all be driving in a car and all be in an accident, but it might affect us all quite differently. So because we're different people, we've got unique makeups, and we've got different history and different upbringings and different socialization and lots of different varying aspects to us. So basically, with trauma, no one is immune to it. It can happen to anybody. It's part of being a human being. It doesn't mean that we're a bad person if we are exposed to trauma, or if we are potentially a victim of, for example, abuse in a relationship, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. It doesn't mean that we're a bad person or that we deserve it. It's something that can happen to anybody. And I would suggest that the best thing that we can do if trauma occurs to us is to talk to someone that we trust about it, and be able to express how we feel as best as possible, as soon as possible afterwards, because the way, from my experience and also from different teachers that I have learned from, this seems to be a really healing way of dealing with it, being able to express about it in a safe environment with someone who can hold space and a compassionate space for us, so that we can get it out, so to speak. And we talked about this last week as well, and Sanji talked about how basically talking is a very noble way of expressing ourselves and getting rid of energy or an experience, or letting go of something that we don't particularly want to hold on to if we can help it. So that's what I would sort of, to set the scene of the conversation around trauma. So I'll hand it over to Rae, and I would love to hear further from her about her experiences, or perhaps stories that she has personally, professionally, whatever she's happy to share. That would be really interesting to hear from you, Rae. So over to you.
Oh, thanks, Anthea. I'm full of stories. I wrote a couple of sort of guiding notes, and I was thinking that if you'll let me know if you can't hear me, won't you? Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's traumatic whenever there is a threat to your safety, right? Anything that threatens your safety. So of course, physical trauma in a hospital setting, everyone's traumatized from that, like you said, car accidents, from being hit by cranes, very painful. I've experienced that myself, though. It's interesting. When I was a teenager, I had this ridiculous horse. It was a thoroughbred. It was completely unpredictable creature. And he used to pelt me into the middle of next week on a regular basis. And it was really interesting, because when I felt that I was falling off this horse, I'd close my eyes and then I'd open my eyes after I hit the ground. And so that was, apart from the pain of the jolt, it didn't actually, it didn't actually hurt that, and I didn't experience much trauma. The trauma that I got from falling off my horse was the embarrassment of walking home, because and the horse would go home without me, and he'd run up the main street of the town with his he had shoes on, so metal shoes, up clackety clack on the bitumen, past everybody's house. So the whole town knew that I fell off. So I was more traumatized falling off again rather than the actual fall itself. Yeah, so it's very interesting. I've very rarely met anyone in a hospital that wasn't traumatized by whatever physical accident type thing. That the other, when it's a threat to your safety, I remember when I left my second husband, who was very emotionally abusive, very physically abusive to the children, not to me, but very. We broke up. It felt like my perception of that was that I felt hunted and afraid and just unsafe all the time. It was just awful. I'm still traumatized by that. So never, in retrospect, he never actually ever physically might happen at any moment. I knew that I could not protect my children from so it doesn't have to is enough to cause trauma as well. And the other sort of trauma that every nurse I've ever met goes through is that accumulative trauma that Anthea touched on. So the event itself, one event doesn't matter. It's just when you've had 27 of them in a row, and especially when they happen back to back, in between. So you're quite right. So there's interesting ways that I've managed to cope with my traumas to try and let them go. I have a really good friend, and other people as well. Is the storytelling is you keep replaying it and replaying it and replaying it in your head until you can make a story over it, and then tweak it a bit so that it's more amusing. I remember after my after my first marriage fell to pieces after 3 months. That was really awful. I found that so painful. And when I was getting ready to get married the second time, I was still holding a lot of my first wedding ring out to the farm. And on the farm was an old car wreck, like it had no engine and it was rusty. And I took that ring, that car, and a sledgehammer. I put the ring on the bonnet and I just belted it until you couldn't recognize it as a ring before, just rid of all that anger. Yeah, so that was storytelling as well. So I know we're not really focusing on healing so much tonight, are we? We're talking about the types of trauma. So there's three different force, but threats to safety, which can not involve any physical trauma whatsoever. It's just the anticipation of something awful happening, and then accumulative trauma have been the main types that have affected me in my life and my career. Yeah. Hi, Georgie.
Hello.
Hello, Georgie. Welcome.
Hi. I couldn't
I'll leave it there for now. Looks like Sandy. Hi, Georgie.
Anthea, we'll give a chance for
Yeah,
Georgie also, no?
Yeah, sure.
You please tell.
All right, Georgie. What we're talking about tonight is we're talking about basically the fact that trauma can happen to anybody, and it can be different types of things, and that people react or respond quite differently.
Yeah.
So if you've got any stories or experience, you're welcome to share.
And why trauma happens, no? George, if you like, please introduce yourself and please share anything.
Um, hi, I'm Georgina. My biggest, I don't know, I've worked through a lot of this, so probably my biggest trauma was my 18-month-old child nearly drowning. I really suppressed that for many years and wouldn't talk about it. The day that it happened, it was just like her cry was the best thing that ever happened. When after they had to give her resuscitation. Yeah, it was very close. Like she was gone. And everyone tried to stop me from getting to her and hugging her, and apparently I just fought everyone. I just punched everyone. And yeah, and I think from then on I always had I don't know, it was really funny about kids in swimming pools. Before then it was, like with water. Sorry, I'm just putting my phone. Um, with water and everything, I used to always have that in planning until I actually talked about it, and then yeah, I've put it in the past now. Yeah, I don't know, because I'm trying to feel back in the pain because I've been working on this. So yeah, I don't have that anymore. I've talked a lot about it to friends and done a lot of work on myself. So yeah, that's about all I can say.
That's fine, Georgie. Thank you for sharing
Thank
with
you.
us. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Sanji, over to you. What are your thoughts or insights or experiences?
So within myself and other people also, I was always thinking like why trauma happens, no? There should be a reason. So ancient wisdom also always says like there's a problem, there's a cause for it, then there's like a solution, and then the way of implementing the solution, no? So it goes like in that pattern. Like if somebody has a illness, so there's a reason for that, no? And then there's like some kind of medicine, no? Proper medicine, and then there's a way they should take it, right? So please, like all three of these special people, please tell like through your personal experience or what you have witnessed, that why do you think like this happens. So for me, I'm thinking I don't know everything. I'm trying to figure things out in myself. Like our father was very abusive, and he used to come drunk and all. We were just kids, no? And he used to beat us up, and so it was very traumatizing. And in the evening time, it was like a curfew hour. We used to hide and see him, and he would come like bashing the gate. So it was really, and then the sticks would come, the belts would come, and then like oh my gosh, after 6, it's like curfew. And you would see and watch, and we would wait him like the crank of the gate even was like horrible. But later I was able to come out of it. I took care of him, and a lot of things happened. No, I forgave him. But there are many things that happen. So later I witnessed like even small things that he made, even the sound of his mouth, the way he ate when he was drunk and all. No, like he used to have this sloppy way of eating when he was drunk. That really like hit my mind. It was like drilling my mind, no? So I was later those days I didn't know, and I was just reacting upon emotions, or like feeling ashamed in society, or the friends in school would say, "Oh, your father was drunk over there," because the city was really close to our home, and the school was really close, no. So it was like having a bad deal from all ends, no. And so, anyways, yeah, later, like yeah, he even when I became a monk, he used to like come and then like make a mess of those places also. So it's like, so in a way, like why trauma happens, we can see like karmic also plays the pattern. And as children, surely like we have no clue, no? And we are kind of like placed, but surely there are reasons for that. From maybe previous life we were acting as such, no? Others, why should we, of all millions of people, why should we place there, right? Be placed there. So then what happens is like uh, but as children, for sure, no, because it's like a open like a screen, or like a drawing board, or no, a canvas. So any kind of thing, even if it's a good thing, surely the bad things will stick to the mind, and then they will be acting as triggers or anything, no. But in society we see like even people are bullied, no, like in schools even, right? And then they put it into a traumatized situation. And even some trainings, I don't want to mention names, it's supposed to be helpful for the society or anything, but these people are traumatized, they end up with PTSD, right? And they are put into situations like that, uh, and which is like glorified. uh, but in a way, I won't mention names, because they, no, they protect society, or anything can happen, no. But they are put it in a way like even the training as such, they have to live in fear, no, they are beaten up for some or punished. So in a way, the traumatization happens there. In a school, those days, nowadays, luckily the children have more options. Now we were getting like they were like we were getting a good beating, no, because we were like naughty on anyways, no. But still, like the big canes and all came, and but sometimes you feel like these things, like we'll talk about recovery next week. I think all four of us have like a lot of things to like how we came out of what we went through, no. So but some people, like Ray said, like uh, some people can bounce, like they don't even feel it. And some people, even little things, like there are some people, I don't know, from all of things, like they still feel like they were shut out of their house, maybe. And they say like, oh, I was 10 years old, or like some age, and my mother or father closed the door. I had to stay outside, but it was just outside, nah? And we were thinking like those days, if somebody took us by the legs and like dum dum like in a cartoon, still would be like brushing ourselves up and coming, no? Like, we would fall. And sometimes when you do a lot of sports, or like, then you fall up and down, and then you are not traumatized by that. But some people just by one, or as a child even, no? Like Georgie said, they might fall into water or something. They are afraid of water or a height. So if if we see like why it happens, no, some people's mind stronger even from small days, because in the past, if life after life, this is a journey, even as kids, because some kids have to live in the streets, no, they have to survive, but their well looked after kid can be traumatized by a simple thing, but the other time, so is it that they are put into so many situations, yeah, or like a work environment for that, or a boss is like that, no, or they can fall into situation. I met a person, sometimes blood comes from that person's nose, when they are just thinking of something. So this person had been abused sexually also at workplace, and got pregnant, and then like had abortion, sorry, and then still it works in this lady's mind. And even when she thinks about it, blood comes from her nose. The impact is so much on the body. So please, like with all of our experience or like what we had also gone through, one thing for in my case and all, I think like as children, we have no clue, so it's very easy, through fear or any kind of factor, like easily can be traumatized. Uh, So, but some children are not, no, even if they're getting beaten up or anything like that, they're strong, no. So, what do you all think, like individually, why traumatization? I think like the karma also has a big reason. The society also has a reason. But even if you take all the external causes, why does it happen? Is it at our most vulnerable place? This happens. Oh no, like in our mind also, there are sometimes like I hear people like when they used to go, sometimes we used to live in a place where there was a huge rock or something, there was a road going by. So you could hear people trying to walk in the night, and this place was supposed to have ghosts. So you hear some people like really walking fast, no, like after coming from work. Yeah, it was like a area with like big estates, and there was a road going, and I was on like the rock, and there was a small cottage lighting on that, but I could hear the sound, no, especially in the night time, like after 10 p.m., and there were like these single footsteps that go on the road below, and you could hear some people would just utter filth, just to go along that area, or somebody would sing. So we'll come to coping mechanisms all, but maybe somebody will just freak out just by seeing a shadow, and that can be traumatized forever even, no? And then some people play psychological games, even in it could be a relationship or family situation. They want the other person to be traumatized, and they somehow put them into that kind of situation, no? So, what is the reason you all think, individually, like people, or even at our experiences? And for me, it was like the childhood experience, and then especially the society, no? Like, oh, I feel so ashamed, no? And such and such. So I was wishing like I had a different parent, so no, something like that. And that would be like trigger moments, no? So, what do you personally think, and according to your experiences, why does trauma happen?
Thank you, Sanji, for sharing your
Will I have a
experiences
go?
with us. Yeah,
Sure.
go for it, Rae.
Yeah, sure.
I think it comes down to your core beliefs. You've reminded me of a whole class of people whose core belief is life is an exciting adventure. They were kind of born with that. Maybe through the birth process, that's what entered the infant's head. Oh, this is exciting. This is fun. Or look at those bright lights. Or look at these new people. So those people fall off their motorbike 8 times, break everything in their body. They still back on the bike and think, well, I was silly, I made a mistake, I'll try that jump again until I get it right. That's called injuries. They just think it's just part of life. Yes, so they believe it's just part of the learning process, how to ride a motorbike, I suppose. Yeah. If you've never experienced something before, if it's a first time in you've never like not only not experienced it, but you haven't read about it. Like for me, it was never fought, ever. I do now. They're 80s, you're in their 80s now. When we were kids, that there was never a crossword. They were a united front in front of my brother and I. So for me to end up in a domestic violence situation was such a foreign. I could not wrap my head around that, and that being at home and not feeling safe was such a weird. I just couldn't understand it. So that intensified my fear and therefore my trauma. And even if you think about your body's response to things as well, when you talking about surgery, if someone comes into hospital to have an operation, say to get their appendix out, and they've never had surgery before, higher, than than the motorbike bloke who's had 5 broken legs and, you know, other surgeries before. They will cope with it so much better. So if you've at least heard of things before or experienced things before about whatever is happening to you at the time, yeah, that's interesting aspect. You know, makes a big difference. If you've grown up with a drunk father and then you end up in a relationship with a drunken person, it's not such a big surprise and horror, is it? Anyway.
Yeah. Will I go?
Yeah, go for it, Georgie.
Yeah, well, listening to Rae, because I grew up with violence and everything as a child, so like it was very hard. It's very hard for me probably when someone's nice to me. I think, yeah, used to think, but yeah, it's just the other way. Like what I was growing up, you think that's normal. That's what I want to say is, and then you just think that's normal, and then when you find out it's not, it's just like, you know, and then what I'm trying to say is, like, now that I've done so much work and everything on myself and whatever, I've come to that peace, and I don't want anyone to break it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It's nice. Peace.
Anthea?
There's lots of things going through my mind. So I, like Sanji and perhaps like Georgie, grew up with a father who was very erratic and his moods were up and down. So he he had a work accident when he was about 42 and experienced anxiety and depression, brain injury. So he became like my mum and dad had three daughters. I am the middle daughter. So he became like a fourth child for my mum. And so that his intellect was like probably like that of a nine-year-old boy, but he was in this big man's body. And so Mum chose to stay with him. She sort of explored options and talked to us about speaking with a social worker, and the social worker said, well, we need to know whether you're going to support your husband or you're going to leave him, because we need to make sure that he's going to have the support that he needs, whether you're with him or not with him. And she chose to stay with him. And she was incredible carer. She, like Rae, she was a midwife and a nurse, incredibly caring woman. And my dad actually he improved as he aged, but he too had an issue with alcohol. And so when he would drink, yeah, it just added another layer of mayhem to whatever was going on. And I remember him having accidents and like driving him, calling the ambulance, and he'd go to hospital because he'd fallen over and hit his head, and just all sorts, and fights, just stupid fights, because he was fueled with alcohol, and other people, perhaps other family members, were alcohol affected as well, and particularly around Christmas time and really sort of emotional times of the year. So basically, I loved my dad, and so he passed away in 2015, and but so he had the accident when I was about 9, And my mum was incredible. She experienced a lot of trauma from him having the accident because she then stepped up to be the breadwinner of the family and went from working part-time to working full-time. And my dad, after some rehabilitation and a few years of, healing, he was able to work. So he did a lot of leather work, and I've still got some beautiful pieces that he did. And he also was able to work as a school crossing supervisor. So he would help the kids cross the road. And he did that for quite some years, and the kids loved him. And he really, that really gave him a reason to get up out of bed and to do something, gave him purpose in life. And also, we would always have dogs. So my dad had to be responsible for the dog to make sure that it was walked. And yeah, basically, in terms of me, so my mum experienced a lot of trauma. She experienced diabetes after my dad's accident, and I believe that that was a result of the trauma of the accident, being worried about money, being worried about my dad, was he going to survive? Because my dad wouldn't go and see any doctors or anything. So basically he was at home, bruised and battered, and wouldn't do anything. So it was really, really challenging for my mum. I think that I blocked a lot of it out, a lot of that experience out, and just was in denial over it because, as I think Georgie was saying, that was my norm. That was what was normal for me. I didn't know what it was like to have a fully functional father. I just knew what it was like to have a father that was sort of like another child. So, and it was only in 2020 that I was able to connect the dots and realize how significantly my nervous system had been affected by having a man who was like my primary sort of role model for men, who I had to walk on eggshells around all the time. I never knew, like, if I tried to do something nice for him, he might yell at me. If I did something bad, he might be really happy. So there was just this, it didn't make a lot of sense, his responses. Yeah, so that, I believe, has continued in relationships that I have had. So to the point that, and it also resulted in me becoming very much a people pleaser, very much pacifying everybody in the situation, and really overextending to help my mum and my dad to cope with stuff. And yeah, people pleasing, avoiding conflict. I hate conflict. I still don't like it. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It just makes me want to run. So I'm not good with arguing with people. And so a whole lot of behaviors in me that since 2020, I've been able to gradually look at and examine and work on, and basically heal through a range of different processes, through a range of different people supporting me, through meditation, through hypnosis more recently. And that's probably what I want to say about that. So what I would also like to share is that I believe trauma, and it's sort of along the lines of karma, but I believe that trauma can be passed on from our ancestors. So that, for example, if there are women in my heritage, in my lineage that have experienced trauma, then that can come through to me and affect me. And I may not understand why I'm behaving in a certain way, but it wasn't something that happened to me during my lifetime. It's something that has been passed down to me, and it stops with me to heal it in all directions of time, forward, backwards, present, so that sometimes trauma may not actually be something that has happened during our lifetime. It may be something that we have inherited. So that's another interesting way to look at things. Okay, I'll pass it on to whomever would like to speak next.
And I'll add to that passing down of trauma. I've seen that. I've got two really good examples. So when I was a kid, we were taught to be afraid of snakes. So because most snakes in Australia will kill you. So we were taught if you see a snake, you run away. But to the point where my parents were both terrified of snakes. Right. So they've passed that on to me. And then I've had a boyfriend that wasn't scared of snakes. And I was like, oh, this is so weird. I didn't know you didn't have to be afraid of snakes. So I've tried really hard not to pass that on to my two stepchildren and my biological child, and that's been successful. But I've noticed my daughter, Chloe, she was always a little bit anxious. And when she was a teenager, she had to go into the place, I think it was a bakery where she was working, and pick up something. And it was late at night and she was all on her own and a bit freaked out to start with. And she went in there and all the pots and pans clattered to the floor, and she got a hell of a fright. And it was from a stray cat. A stray cat had come into the room and just saw her and made this awful noise. And she's managed to pass that on to her children. So one of them was asleep, and the house cat jumped on the child and woke him up, and he woke up with a fright. And instead of Chloe going, it's all right, it was just a cat, you're fine, she went, oh, and made it into such a big deal. And now that child is afraid of cats coming, waking you up. Yeah, so it's really good to be aware of those things. And it's not always a cellular memory. So it's passed on by the actions of your family, not as well. I'm sure there is cellular memory as well, but it can be just from the attitudes of the people around you that pass those sort of traumatic fears and phobias and things down the line. Yeah, so I wonder about lots of different phobias coming down the line like that as well. Yeah, anyway, just something I thought I'd throw in there.
Thank you.
Georgie, what do you think about it?
Yes, I agree with Rae. I think, yeah, that, because I remember with horses. Oh, be careful, like don't get thrown off. And then he would like really baby me, and so I had this fear of getting thrown off. I mean, in the end, like it hurts getting thrown off, but why have, he had me so fearful. Yeah. And I don't, just and then I tried to not pass that on to my girls, like, because I was fearful of, well, snakes, yep, for one thing, because my parents, oh, be careful of snakes, and to this day, yep, I still don't like snakes, but I'm not so fearful of them anymore.
I am. If a snake came into this house, I'd have to move.
Oh,
I'm
don't.
terrified.
Yeah, I haven't seen one for a while.
Oh, yeah, but my kids aren't, so that's good.
Rae, according to people you saw in hospitals, if you generalize it, why do you think, like, which categories the trauma falls? Like, why did you see, like, from the years? And please, other people also please join, because I was never in an environment like that. What categories would you like to put like that? The ones you saw.
Oh, that's interesting. So people that had a lot of trauma through their lives, they handle it better and better. So every time they come into the hospital where they've been bashed up, or they got drunk and fell over, or they've come in for their 53rd surgery because they've decided there's something wrong with them, they handle it better and better. There's less and less trauma. There's that type of person. There's a type of person where it's just happened once and it's ruined their life. Like they cannot get over it. They can't get past it. They're in a talk. My last husband is in this category. He had a rotten childhood, terrible. So his father wasn't drunk. He was mean. He used to, yeah, and if we go back a bit further, his mother, my husband's father was brought up by his sister because his mother died when he was 3, right? So he had a bit of a rocky, disjointed, dysfunctional childhood, and he grew up, he tried really hard to bring up, he had 2 boys. My husband was the eldest, and he would ignore their behavior, ignore it until those boys were out of control almost, and then he would belt the daylights out of them. He'd lock them in the bathroom and just belt them with a belt until his wife's father would come along and stop him. So that's how my husband's childhood was. Why am I talking about him? Yeah, okay. So instead of doing what Georgie did and dealing with that, he just became a poor me. He never got over his childhood. He just said everybody's against him, nothing ever good happens. Over and over again, the only time he was ever felt safe was when he was injured and his mother was looking after him. So he would go into that poor me with every stress in life. He would twist stories into how something awful had happened to him. His mother actually was killed by a drunk driver, and he would tell that story to anyone who would listen to try and get the price down on a car he was buying, or you know, people's sympathy and attention all the time, to the point where he actually ended up in the psychiatric unit and they've diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. Right, so there's that sort of person. They have a trauma, they don't get past it, they amplify it instead of trying to heal it, and that just ruins their life. Then there's the other type of person, like especially country people, where it's a very good quality to be tough, right? They will not tell you that traumas if they are. Like, I nursed a lady, I'll never forget her. She's sitting in hospital. She had diabetes, yeah, and they had to amputate one of her legs just below the knee. And she behaved like she didn't care. Did I? Well, it's gone. Good, get rid of it. I can have a wooden one. It'll be fine. Oh, it's amazing, amazing. So not only is it your core belief, it's how you decide what that trauma means to you, whether you're going to use it like a badge of honor and try and use it as a shield to get through life, or whether you're going to say, oh, well, that happened, never mind, I'll just get on with it. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, is what they believe, right? Yeah. So they've gotten over it. I've managed it. Cancer didn't get me. The bus that hit me didn't get me. Yeah. I'll be right. Yeah. Very, very different. And those people do really well, and they live to be 104. Those guys, they chop their leg off and they just keep going. I've nursed that. I actually had a friend who was nearly 90, and he used to ride his push bike all around Cairns. And the traffic in Cairns is a bit like probably in the Philippines. You a bit wild. And somebody hit him, knocked him off his bike, and he had broken bones, and he just soldiered on, got himself out of hospital in a couple of weeks and got back on his bike. Amazing. And continued to live a balanced and fruitful life for many more years after that. Yeah, some people, there's another core belief as well. Some people who are over 60 decide that that's it. I've had a good life, and they just throw in the towel. And that's the end of them. Oh, well, I'm gone. And I think, well, mate, if you'd met my 90-year-old mate, you wouldn't lie down like that so easily. My parents are in the category of, yep, we'll get on with it. I can cope with anything. They don't dwell on their trauma. It's very interesting. So core belief, it's all about beliefs with me. I can weave a belief into just about everything. But yeah, so it's your attitude. You can call it your attitude to life, your attitude to your injury, or your domestic violence situation. God, I've seen some horrendous women that have had the most horrendous things done to them. Indigenous women especially are so tough. So they'll walk to hospital with the knife still in their belly. Oh my God, it's amazing. And you just patch them up and away they go. Don't even think twice. I'll go find him. I'll go. Yeah, they don't even blink. It's just amazing. Yeah. And then other women who just fall to pieces and they can't look after their children and their attitude. You had, yeah, it's all in the head, isn't it? Mm.
And it seems like in some way or another, like please you all also add in, it seems to be more related to the mind, no? Like when you take all these experiences, we say, it seems like physical trauma and then psychological trauma. But even if the body kind of has this response, why are some people like, even if like Ray and other people said, like even if a limb is taken away, still they like hop in maybe a no artificial limb and they still live for like I remember there was an uncle of us, he was like acting like a tough guy and everything, but soon as he also like got diabetes and all, and then they that was his downfall. From there on, it was like way like a down slope, and it didn't last for a long time. As soon as they did that, because he used to like always adore himself, and then he used to do boxing and all these things also, and so soon as they uh, amputated his leg, that was his biggest downfall. Other things he would do all the crazy things and everything, but nothing like touched him. But this was, yeah, so in a way, like for some people, at some childhood or any situation, it seems like the mind, for some people, even so, maybe like we'll talk about recovery next week, huh? And hopefully we'll all get together and discuss about it, how we coping mechanisms, what we did to ourselves, then somebody else can. And in a way, like some people can be pushed to that limit or the limits break, no? You try to hold on and hold on and hold on. It could be a partner or some parent or something or society or the school or even your at office or someplace or through poverty, no? Or expectations or anything. They talk about people married and then they are pushed to a limit and then they're traumatized. They just go silent uh, or they feel like ending it all. This also can happen, no? Like you are pushed into such extremes. You could do next one, next one, next one, next one. Then they feel that I cannot take it anymore, right? Then the trauma. So in a way, I feel, please you all also add to this because we started it a little bit late today. So I
Yeah.
think we can just go on a little bit more. I
Yeah.
hope I'm not talking too much. So I just feel it's like a scar, and then mostly a mental scar than a physical scar because from physical, some people like we like to show off scars, right? Like, no,
Rae does.
yeah, I was so proud of my scars. No, oh, this is the one the dog bit me, no,
I love
and this is
scars.
the one like I fell off, no, and like this is the one I just
Yeah,
patched up, and then like, yeah, and then this is the one I got stuck in the barbed wire fence or something, no, like, and I bit a pencil and I poured surgical spirit on it, no, like, and the pencil snapped, but later I was proud of it, no, to show off, no. So likewise, like, but if I was traumatized by that. Uh, then the mental scar will be there. So in the mind also, if we talk about spiritual sciences and all, there's a thing called perception. So in the perception, it can give the same kind of effect and the experience and all the feelings, the emotions, just as it was when the moment it happened. So the thing is like, then this can recollect or this can be triggered. So the perception can be the exact. That's why when we remember about a particular food or something, or that experience we got while having that, oh, it was so horrible. Even the same food, oh, it was rotten. I didn't know. I just had a bite and I felt sick, and no, I ended up in the hospital or something. Then, like, when you see that, that trigger comes up, even if it's a perfectly made that particular food, yeah, but still that thing can come up. Maybe you just throw up by remembering it, no? So, but the mental part plays because you're not sick or you're not feeling bad, no? So likewise, so the scars, some people can be proud of it, some people can be ashamed of it, no? Some people really want to erase it, no? But the mental scar, or some people like it can weigh off, or they find coping mechanisms, and so that's why it's a kind more towards the mental side, right? But please, you all also like Anthea, Georgie, please add what you think. This is open discussion, no? So nothing is correct or wrong or such like that. Not that we are trying to publicize false information about it. No, that. But yeah, please join in there and say how you feel, what do you think. It's open for all, no?
So I've got a couple more things I'd like to share. So what I'm thinking of when we were discussing trauma is like the trauma of people who are married or long-term partners, and one of them dies, and the other one dies of a broken heart, which I think is quite fascinating. So they might not literally die of like a heart attack, but they basically
Yeah, they do.
they do actually die of heart attacks as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a syndrome. It's called broken heart syndrome. It's a
Yeah.
documented syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because my father passed away in 2015 quite suddenly. So he was in hospital for about a week, and he had a hernia, which basically, once again, he didn't go to the doctor because he didn't think he needed to. So by the time I took him to the doctor, he had a lot of fluid, congestion around his heart and his lungs, and his hernia. They did surgery, but basically he died of peritonitis, so he had a massive infection. Anyway, so my mum and my dad had an interesting relationship. It was like a love-hate relationship. So my mum would talk about my dad and say, she just wished that he'd die and she wanted to push him down the stairs, and it was all nonsense. It was just her way of getting out her anger, probably a little bit like Rae smashing the ring, because her husband had, basically he'd had terrible accident and he wasn't himself anymore. And her dreams, their dreams of, of living together and whatever they were going to do together were all wrecked. So when it was very interesting for me to watch, so I had moved back. So I had basically been married, and my late husband, that's another story, but he had died, and I had moved back with my parents to take care of them and to get my life together. And so my dad died. My mum basically went into a decline after he died, and she died 3.5 years later. But it was really, really fascinating because this is what my perception is of it, that she didn't have a purpose in life anymore. Once he died, she didn't have to look after him anymore. And I thought, Ripper, she's going to be able to enjoy life. She's going to be able to do this and do that. But her health just declined and declined and declined and declined, one thing after another until she died herself. So That's another type of trauma. I also wanted to mention in terms of what Sanji was saying about it being like mental scars, but they talk about neuroplasticity and neural pathways in our brain that like they could be patterns or habits or maybe even attitudes that we have. And it can also involve chronic pain. So I have learned a lot about that, and we can actually change our neural pathways by doing things a bit differently, by coaching ourselves out of responses. So we can do it through movement, we can do it through a bit of hypnosis, we can do it through NLP and other various ways. So that I believe very much about neural plasticity, neural pathways. And I also saw it with my dad with his brain injury, because basically when he had his terrible accident, they didn't expect, the medical professionals didn't expect him to live for maybe 5 more years. And so he lived till he was nearly 76. And his brain, the way he worked, and his brain worked and concentrated, and his moods and everything actually improved as he got older. So it was quite fascinating to watch. So that was what I wanted to add.
So, yeah, like I did some bit of research, and please, if you relate to these things, or like if you have anything regarding these things, please, any of you bring it up. So I just, so trauma happens when an experience overwhelms a person's ability to cope, process, or feel safe. It is not about what happens, it's about how the nervous system responds to what happens. Yeah, so there are some many reasons they have mentioned. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
You don't hear
Yeah.
external sounds or anything, right? No, right? So one is like the brain survival system gets overloaded. They give a lot of reasons for that. We have it's like a wired system, like fight and flight, no? So either it freezes, or it like wants to run away. So it gets overloaded, overwhelms, and some people get stuck on their tracks or things like that. No, so it can be life-threatening or helpless, uncontrollable, or deeply shocking. So from any reason or one or another. No, so it's like the overwhelm. So number two is the person feels unsafe and powerless. And so they have given many reasons for that also, like you cannot escape a situation, or any, not even situation, you cannot escape, no? And no one to help. The person felt alone, and there was betrayal or abuse. Then yeah, they have mentioned it. So a person who needs emotional support, pursues safety, like a child or past experiences, anything, this can happen, reliance, like that. Then the third one, what they say is like events that were too much or too fast or too long. They have said like single events, acute, like you mentioned, acute trauma, no? It's like accidents, assault, natural disasters. Then outgoing stress, no? Like chronic trauma, abuse, war, poverty, domestic violence, early life experiences, development trauma, no? So neglect, emotional unavailability, attachment wounds. So these also, so number four is like the memory gets stored differently. Oh, that's an interesting one, no? So normally the brain processes experiences and files them as past memories. With trauma, the memory may remain unprocessed, uh, and it can feel like it is happening again. Some people, like, they just run away, saying that somebody's coming, I remember in war zones and all, like, oh, they're coming, but there's nobody there, right? Or there was a person, like, he wanted to end his own life because he thought his lost friend is who passed away was talking with him behind in his car, and then luckily his wife found him, like, trying to end his life, and then they got to know, and then they try to help him, no? Luckily, he didn't end his own life. And then, yeah, memory unprocessed. It can feel like it's happening again. The body reacts before the mind understands. This is why trauma shows up as anxiety, panic, emotional numbness, hypervigilance, physical tension, flashbacks. Yeah, it stops here, like the last one. And then the trauma is about the nervous system, not weakness. Trauma does not mean someone is weak. It means the nervous system did exactly what is designed to do, protect survival. It becomes a problem only when the body cannot complete the stress cycle and return to safety. So, in a very simple way, it was mentioned something too much, too fast, too soon, or too long happens, and there wasn't enough safety afterwards. So that is like, so anything like regarding to the brain survival system gets overloaded, or people felt unsafe or powerless, even like it was too much, too fast, too long. The memory gets stored differently. The trauma is about the nervous system. Any of you all also please add? I'm just reading on the details that I got, no? Like I collected. So there are so much details. People can search online and do so much also, no? But please, uh, any or you all add into those facts also if you like, yeah?
Yeah, I think when a trauma hasn't been processed by your mind, that triggers nightmares, doesn't it? And then you trauma can't sleep, and then you're afraid to go to sleep. Yeah, it's a bit of a vicious cycle. We haven't sort of touched on nightmares before. I just thought I'd throw that in as part of a symptom of something that's unresolved.
Maybe another topic, Anthea, for the future, no? Nightmares.
I think so, because Sanji and I in previous podcasts discussions have touched upon nightmares, and I actually experience nightmares quite regularly. So yeah, I would be happy to share my experience and perhaps yeah, hear your insights and thoughts about that. Yeah, but it makes sense to me that the unprocessed traumas, experiences. So Sanji, everything that you mentioned, I can relate to all of it. I think that's a really good description of trauma. And the more that we talk about it, the more instances that I'm thinking of. So I think that's probably how other people will also respond from this podcast, that they'll be able to think of more and more instances as we talk and explain about it in their own life and perhaps in the lives of others. So what we might do now is I would encourage people to share their sort of final comments for our session tonight. And we certainly will be discussing this more next week. And we welcome any feedback from anybody who's watching the replay about their insights, experience. So I'll hand it back over to whomever might like to just share their final comments and thoughts about our topic tonight.
Rae, you go, and then Georgie, and then no?
Thank goodness that it's not a taboo subject anymore. That's all I can say. That we can talk about it. It's an accepted part of life, and therefore heal.
Georgie, please feel free to.
Yeah, it feels good to talk about it and everything. And yeah, I realize that I've moved on a lot from a lot of my trauma. But in saying that, what I've said tonight about people, it's probably best I don't record it. I don't mind if it's recorded about when my daughter drowned, but me saying anything
Sure.
about anyone, if
Mhm.
that's okay, please.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
And for future reference, if anybody wants, please mention it ahead, and then we can stop the recording at that moment. Then it's
Yeah.
fine, and then you can share, but none of it's recorded anywhere in any place. Okay. Yeah. And Georgie, what do you think? Like we can talk next week also, no? And
Yes. Yes.
uh, and talking about these things also helps, right?
Definitely helps. Yes. Yeah. I'll try. I'll write some notes down so it's more about me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, so thank you. It was great, like spending this time with you all and sharing, and everybody came up with very personal things. Sometimes we would never tell nobody even, no? And sometimes we like think why would we want to share, or sometimes they can use it against us or something like that, no? But here we were all ready and we felt safe to or like to express it, even put it out. So next time we'll try to focus on recovery, how we coped up it. Maybe it will help somebody, and to come out of their own difficulty. And there was another lady also who used to join discussions in like in UK. She had a lot of, so she always she does a like a profession in like trauma recovery also. And she always says when she starts, like if you feel like Anthea mentioned, it came click to my mind, no? And you said like if you feel uncomfortable at any point, please consult somebody. Just in any case, like if it triggers, no? So yeah, surely, and any time anybody can contact any of us. Uh, and if Georgie also likes, if according to her, you can share her what she's doing to help people or anything like that. We can put that also out. And so yeah, please be free, and we'll talk about and next week, like what extent can we take? Like how do we make people weak, or like no, like and especially I feel like from childhood, maybe the like when talk about generational trauma, the parents also had that. They had no support, maybe, no? Or they were told like you have to just be tough, and they didn't know how to react to their children. Or it was a single parent, right? And the child didn't know what, or the child was lost, and then what that will go to their children if they have children, or even if they associate a child, that that will go through, right? So this can become very bad in the sense like one after the other, it becomes like worse to worse. But some people break that pattern even. I have met people who say like, my father was such and such, I don't want my children to be like that or go through like that. So they break the pattern. Or they didn't even have a parent, and they say either ladies or gentlemen, like men, they say like, I didn't have this, but I want my child to have a good parent. So some like really change and switch things around, no? And now there are so many resources and all things, even internet, a lot of we can learn, can have resources to help people, but still it seems like people are trapped in this, no, for some reason. So next week, hopefully we can talk about things like how to come out of this, no? And in different parts of Earth, anybody can contact us. We can try to help them, or like guide them to another place where they are. It's possible. No, there are so many things can be done without getting stuck there. No, because this is our lives, right? And even if we went for some reason without knowing, nobody has to suffer. No, it could be as a child, but we didn't know, right? Or it could be karma, or it could be something passed on, huh? But nobody has to suffer. And it's always like Georgie said, like, or we all say, like, we can let it go or pass. I know it's not so easy, but why grab hold onto something that really hurts you, no? If it's a rock and if it's sinking you, why not let it go and try to swim up? No, or you will float otherwise, no? or if it's burning you, if it's like a red hot piece of iron and you still, you know, it's burning you. No, why don't you release it? No. So actually, then we can see like even in the mind, nothing is really stuck. We tend to pull it back, no? And so in some ancient traditions, oh, maybe keep it for next year. So yeah, like, okay. So then, yeah, and hopefully everybody can join. And it was great sharing this space and time with you all. It was a great experience. And hopefully, because every problem has a solution. And there are no problems without any solutions, no? And it's about understanding, acceptance, and how people should or can help each other also, even children and all, or even the information itself really helps. So yeah, I hand it over to Anthea, and thank you all very much. It was a great pleasure being here.
Okay, so just in winding up our conversation, thank you so much to Sanji. Thank you, Rae. Thank you, Georgie, all for your time, your insights, your experience, your compassion, your wisdom. And it has been a very interesting and helpful discussion. And I think the more that we talk about these sorts of things, the more we realize that we're not alone and that everybody experiences some trauma at some level. And I also wanted to say that being vulnerable is actually very powerful. So sometimes we can think that, you know, we can be frightened of sharing our stories, but we can actually help other people and we can help ourselves by speaking our truths and being authentic about our journeys. So thank you all. And I look very much forward to our discussion next week.
Okay, then have a good night to you all and everybody.
Good night.
Have a great
Good
day.
night. Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.